interesting. He totally tarred us right out of here. It sounded like a dinosaur roaring. That was kind of funny. Welcome to Geek Week News. Each week we look at the top 5 stories that we found that we really liked. And so I want to kick it off with this was sent to me this week. The Rock is wrapping up Hercules, and now he's apparently going to be in something called SEAL Team 666.
I hate to say this because I'm going to sound so much like Kathy, our reviewer for spoilers, but The Rock's so pretty.
Oh my God, Kathy, she's going down your route.
Maybe Kathy's infected my brain, but when I heard The Rock's in anything vaguely science fiction or fantasy related, I'm like, really? I can just watch him.
So the whole idea is that there's a SEAL team that ends up coming across demons and other supernatural things.
Of course they do.
So it's basically Doom with Marines, but that aren't in space. That's pretty much how I see it. It's like a whole series of books.
But they couldn't get away with calling it live action Doom because no one would watch that movie because it's not 1998 anymore.
They did it. The first person sequence was pretty fun, but how do you not have the gates of hell on Mars? I'm sorry, it's not Doom without that. And The Rock was in that one too.
The gates of, you know what? Hell has 9 zillion gates. There's a gate to hell everywhere. There's one in Sunnydale. There's one on Mars.
Sunnydale,
really?
yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's just kind of weird, all these little different ruptures, right?
I think that it's not so much that people are trying to get out, it's that they've heard that heaven's really boring, so it's just people are chiseling their way in, like, hey, I don't want to be stuck up here with a bunch of choreographers. Where's Mark Twain?
Step away before you get struck by lightning over here. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it because they're going to really have to adapt the story because the story's about someone you wouldn't imagine being in the SEAL team, joining the SEAL team.
Okay.
So you're going to have The Rock, who looks like he belongs in a SEAL team going, oh my God, I can't fight. Not going to happen.
Oh wait, they're trying to cast The Rock as someone who can't actually fight and isn't a giant slab of muscle?
Yes.
That might be less entertaining.
All right, up next, net neutrality is once again making headlines. It's under attack in Washington again because corporations are wanting to control it.
No, just give it up. Give it up, guys. The Pandora's box is open in this particular case. You are not going to be able to make people just, shh, we're not going to talk about things anymore. That's not how the internet works. If there's anything that they should have learned from WikiLeaks, if there's anything they should have learned from Julian Assange, people outside the US can make sure that other people get the news. What are you going to do? Form a whole world government just to tap everything down because a couple senators don't want people to know they're getting a blowjob?
Well,
come on.
It's kind of like that, but it's also they want to regulate the bandwidth. So you know what? When you get a hosting plan, you're going to have to pay for extra bandwidth if you want your site to go faster. And businesses can pick and choose where they want to go. It's kind of like your cell phone. You only get so much data.
I would say it actually sounds more like old school Ma Bell, back when you had all these crazy like city fees and state fees and county fees and federal fees, and half of your phone bill was fees and not actually related to...
Very much so.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the reason, other than convenience, why people moved over to cell phones so quickly. This is not going to work for the internet. People will find other ways. We'll get WiMAX if we have to.
What the hell is WiMAX?
WiMAX is awesome. It's like a broader, more distributed Wi-Fi. You haven't heard about it for a variety of reasons, namely the local cable companies don't want you to.
Oh.
Yay, there's more technology options out there. Remember that, Congress.
Well, it's just kind of sitting there. People are debating it, and I just think it's incredibly dumb. You can't control the internet. It's gone way past your control.
The people that are debating it, these are guys in their 70s, 80s, and 90s who literally do not know. They still think it's a series of tubes.
And it still has that dial-up noise because that's what they have in their office. That
And I think it's pathetic that the people on our technology committees are people that are terrified of technology. All they want is like, well, my grandfather didn't understand how this worked. Well, if we got your grandfather when he was 20 and introduced him to it, I think he would think it was awesome. Get off. Oh, these guys enrage me.
So I hope it just dies out again because it's an incredibly, incredibly, incredibly stupid argument.
I agree.
You're not going to be able to stop the internet.
We actually agree on something.
I know. God, the world's coming to an end. You think, oh, wow, there's just going to be a gate of hell here somewhere.
You know what? I think it's behind the podium.
It probably is. I'll be over there later. So I sent you this video this week. This man, no engineering background, no sort of science background, created a 3D printer that's less than $100. I am completely confused.
You're confused by 3D printing in general, though, right?
No. I get the 3D printing, okay, but the way this one works is he used Blender, which is a free software, 3D software. You import your item in there, and he created a program that translates that to sound waves. The sound waves go to a set of mirrors and chips, and it makes the mirrors turn so a laser hits. And I guess the solution is in the water, and the water is timed to the sound, so it drips down, and it's hitting the water and building it as the water comes up. How the hell did this man think of this?
Okay, see, when you describe it that way, though, it sounds very 1950s and 60s when everything was like, well, it's all magnets and mirrors, son. That's how we make technology work. He's taking a lot of very old school technology and applying a really new twist to it, which I think is fantastic. And the fact that he's building it himself, it's really easy to actually build a 3D printer, as you can see from a guy that actually did it for $100. He did it with $100 and tens of thousands of dollars worth of education and engineering skills.
No, he doesn't have those.
He doesn't?
No, he is just like me, the ignorant masses, and decided, I'm going to do this and just kind of have fun with it.
That is awesome.
And he did this prototype, and it just seems like this giant contraption, and the water's there, and it's baked in the water, and the lasers are little mirrors.
I'm hugely curious what the accuracy level is on it. And like,
apparently, it's super accurate.
I've got to go rewatch this video, or watch it for the first time. For that
I mean, it is just, I was mind blown, and I watched it, I was still confused, like, so it's all sound waves, and the sound waves control the drip.
The moral of this story, though, is 3D printing is like net neutrality, is not something we're going to be able to control. It's going to be in people's houses. We're going to be able to make better and more interesting things, and that is going to change all of manufacturing.
I hope so. I really want a 3D printer. I'm hoping this one kind of makes it so people don't understand you can make it lower.
They are getting cheaper and cheaper. It's really the feed at this point is the most expensive part. They're going to quickly be much like an inkjet printer, because literally they are just a modified inkjet printer when it comes to the actual technology, where the ink is the most expensive part, the plastic feed is going to be the most expensive part with 3D printers, I'd say within 5 years.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it develops.
You know what I want?
People are already backing it.
I desperately want to mod myself a food printer.
Oh, you're going to make the chicken nuggets and you're going to make the pizzas and it'll be like, did you just print this? Yes, here, eat it.
Yes, yes.
It'll be like crunchy and I'll be like,
And that's exactly the response I would hope for with something like that. Yeah, there are so many things we can do with 3D printing technology. 20 years from now, we're going to be looking back at like, why did we do the crappy things we did, like go to fast food, when we can just print something up at home instead?
Yeah, we
want
to print up
see
fast food printing when it takes 5 hours.
No, things they're getting faster as well. I mean, come on, early laser printing took forever.
It did. I will give it that much. It was painfully
This is a
slow.
technology that is in demand that people are going to have fascinating uses for it that we can't even think of yet. I am so excited about it.
I'm waiting for it to get more widely adopted.
It's
so,
happening.
Talking about more technology, the big video that went around this week were for the invisible bike helmets.
Those were awesome!
I am completely on the exact opposite side.
Really?
If you're too vain to put on a damn helmet, get in a car. Seriously. These women said bikes are the future, and they didn't want people to put stuff on their head. Then don't ride a bike, and don't go where it's dangerous. You're going to fall off.
Several things. It's not just about vanity. For some of it is, here's a whole different way of approaching the technology. Like if you get hit on the side, like depending on the angle that you get hit, you can still have just your face ripped to shreds when you have a bike helmet on. Also, a lot of bike helmets, they don't provide as much protection as you want to think that they do.
So for those who haven't seen the video, you can see the picture here. That collar she's wearing, that's the helmet. It's got a sensor.
It's like a, it's like a,
it's an airbag.
It's an airbag. It's an
And it
airbag
pops
that
out.
wraps around your head. And again, not just for the vanity aspect of it with the helmets. I mean, think about it. If you've got a kid that doesn't know how to fasten their helmet properly, this would be a bit safer for them.
But an airbag isn't foolproof. It's gonna, if you hit the hard ground enough, it's gonna rip, and boom, there goes the side of your face.
And a helmet's not going to do the exact same thing depending on the angle and mass.
It give you a little bit more protection than a balloon.
That's kind of like saying we shouldn't have airbags in cars. Instead, we should all just have to drive behind a giant styrofoam block.
Well, see, airbags are bigger than this little thing that pops out over the
That
head.
thing
I will
looked
admit,
pretty big.
it was really cool looking because I kept looking for the helmets, and I thought I was like, are they just see-through helmets? And then that thing popped out, and I was like, whoa. I was like, that's just totally weird.
So
And I
here's the
started
other thing
thinking,
about it. It's a really cool technology.
It is.
And having people come up and say, well, I don't like that cool new technology. Darn you for coming up with a new technological idea for something. That's what it sounds like you're saying when you're like, oh, well, they're just vain. Maybe they just wanted to have a different option. Maybe it's cool to have multiple different ways of doing things.
It was the vibe I got from them in the video. That was the vibe I got, that they created this because they didn't like wearing things on their head. They're the biker culture that said bikes are the future. These are the type of people that made this, and I applaud them for coming up with a great idea. But they only showed you the actual thing popping out once. And I still leave all these questions like, what happens when you hit the ground? Does it like move around like a beanbag?
My understanding, though, is the brief video that we saw online is an excerpt from, what is it, like a 2-hour documentary? So I don't think they wanted to give us too many of the money shots in the little brief excerpt.
Yeah, so I would like to see more about it, but I kind of think, yeah, whatever the inspiration behind it was, I want to see how it's actually going to work in the field, because can you just see all these people, like people in Jackass wearing them, trying to find ways to break them?
And there's nothing wrong with that. I actually completely support people getting out there and just trying every technology to see where all of the holes in it are. That's fantastic. But coming out and saying, I don't approve of them having a new technology, that's silly.
I didn't say I didn't approve of them having new technology. I just found it a little silly. I sure did. I sure did. All right, so last bit of Geek Week news. One of my favorite movie series is finally getting a third movie, Jeepers Creepers.
Good for you.
There's been this video floating around the internet for months now, and honestly, I don't understand where they're going to go with it, since it only can happen every 23 years, and they already made 2 movies. So I will be interesting to find out where it goes from here. Like, will we have a sci-fi version that goes the route of Jason X, where he's all like cyborg, or
that was terrible.
I don't know where they're going to go with it. I'm excited, though, because I really like the idea of the Creeper, and I like the idea of what he did in the first movie, and I really liked the second movie. I'm cautious with the third movie because we have been burned before.
We are living in a geek golden age when he can look forward to Jeepers Creepers 3.
Yeah, and not Thanksgiving 3. I mean, that was one of the ones that totally burned us pretty damn bad.
So what else have we got?
So that's it for Geek Week News this week. Outside of, there's some Doctor Who things.
That's true. May I interject a brief bit of goodness? So those of you that, like me, adore the Doctor Who, hopefully have seen the two new minisodes that are out there.
I've only watched the one where he turned into John Hurt. Spoilers! People have already watched it.
If you haven't seen it by now and you're a Doctor Who fan, I love the fact that they brought Paul McGann back for that, though. He's the American Doctor, even though he's British, that had the kind of 1996 movie that everyone's like, this is why we can't have Doctor Who anymore. And then they rebooted the series later. He's done a great job being essentially like the audio doctor for all practical purposes. He's done a ton of audio books. That really helps you flesh out the Time War. But it was just so nice to see him on screen, actually getting a little bit more time, because he's put in his time for Doctor Who. And so, yay, I'm glad we got to see that. Glad we got to see his regeneration. The thing I love the most about it, the Time War is supposed to be this terrifying thing. Having someone terrified of the Doctor, because we're so used to everybody going, the Doctor, it's bigger on the inside, yay! And instead having her go, wait, it's bigger on the inside? Slam the door on him.
Die.
Exactly. That blew my mind. On a lighter note, leading up to the 50th, there was also a 2-minute episode that you basically had not even an episode, it might have just been an excerpt as opposed to a mini-sode. But anyway, you had a reason why Matt Smith and David Tennant are actually meeting, and you get to see the two of them face to face for the first time. That was just fun and exciting.
I think that'll be part of the thing. And we'll be watching it at Wizard World next week, because that's where we'll be at.
That's right. You can see me in my giant TARDIS dress. We'll be interviewing all the cosplayers out there that want to be on the cosplay tapes. And don't talk to us during the Doctor Who special.
Talk.
No, I will murder you. That's what I'm saying right now.
All right, so we've talked about Gates of Hell and murdering all those things. All right.